Good morning. My name is Melissa. Welcome back to my channel. Today is Tuesday, October 12th, and I am getting ready. It is about 6:45ish in the morning. I'm getting ready to go to the gym. First morning going to the gym, probably in at least a month, if not longer than that. So if any of you have watched my previous video, you know that I made some commitments, and you also know, or even if any of you know me and have talked to me outside of the YouTube world, you know that I probably have gone over the fact that I've been through a lot this year, and it's funny because I've been calling my 2021 a lot of other people's 2020. I can't say that all of it's been negative at all. It's just been extremely stressful, and some things that have happened, I guess you could say, depending on what your perspective is, that it all depends on your perspective, really, that certain happenings, whether or not they're negative, just depends on your perspective. So regardless, I do like to think that it is fair in the general consensus of things to consider being attacked by dogs, having a family member go into the hospital and not being sure if they're going to make it out of the hospital alive, and getting into a car accident um, are, pretty negative. But at the same time, I've got like a bajillion things to be thankful for, that I'm still alive from both of those happenings that happened to me, and that my dad is still alive and coherent, uh, from having been in the hospital. So I won't get into those things so much, but I will say that I am still recovering from the car accident that I was in recently, and I'm getting ready right now. And just the fact that I can throw my leg over my other leg without a tremendous amount of pain is something to be thankful for. And progress from when I wasn't, because on my left leg, try not to make this too long all about that stuff. On my left leg, I have one of the dog bites that's still very tender. So pressure on it still hurts. It's not nearly as bad as it was, obviously, because it's healed over, but it's still very tender. And then also, whenever I was in the car accident, we hit the dashboard, like, your legs and your knees and your shins, you go forward regardless of whether or not you're wearing that seatbelt, because yes, it's going to hold you back a little bit, but we still made impact with that dashboard, and I was wearing a seatbelt, but it's still tender in, oh man, in one of the spots, but it's getting so much better, and that's such a blessing. So it's really hard for me to get down on my knees on my left side because my shin is still swollen in places and hurting, but regardless, so those are some things. But I really wanted to follow through with my commitment of my last video and be sure to make at least one video every week. This is it. I wanted to update you on my progress, and my challenges. And so my so-called progress, and it doesn't feel like progress, but I have to remind myself that it took a year and a half to gain back those 43 pounds. It might take just as long to shed them, to work them off, especially when making the necessary changes. It's, even though it's just one decision after another, when you're into a habit, it makes it really hard. So I am currently, like I said, I'm getting ready to go to the gym for the first time in the morning, I should say, getting ready to go back to the gym in the morning for the first time in at least a month. And my goal, grab some coffee, top off my coffee, I should say. My goal is to kind of get back into the swing of good habits. I would like to work off at least 30 pounds by the end of the year, as of my last video that I made, which was about a week ago. And it works out to about 2.5 pounds every week. So it's like 10 pounds a month, break it down to 4 weeks, 2.5 pounds every week. So this last week, I lost a whopping, get ready for this, drum roll, 0.2 of a pound. So I'm kind of bummed out about that, but I'm also trying not to get horribly discouraged because I know that while I did make some changes, I didn't do as well as I should and as well as I've done before. And it's interesting when you've gone through a weight loss slash wellness journey when it comes to, and I mean, that's what we call weight loss. Again, you know, I've said previously that I don't like calling it losing weight because it makes it sound like you're going to find it again. And here I am having found 43 pounds again. So, any of you who have worked off the weight, and I mean, it is work, especially when you're doing both nutrition and exercise, it is work. You find it extremely frustrating when you come back and you have gained back weight. And also, I can't speak for everyone when I say this, but I feel like I could probably speak for a lot of people when I say that it might be a relatively fast process. Like mine's about 1.5 years of putting back on 43 pounds, but it is a gradual process of kind of allowing yourself to make little adjustments to the decisions that the good habits and the disciplines that you've been making. So in my case, oh yeah, I'll go ahead and have a little bit more than I usually do, you know, and like I said in the last video, and I demonstrated with my hands, you know, you move from this point to this point, this point to this point, this point to this point. Each of those little steps is a teeny tiny little bit from the last, but over 1.5 years, we're like way far away. So, it's just, and now I have to try to inch, like, and I mean, there are so many ways of approaching it. But I feel like I have to try to inch back to where I was. So regardless, it is 6:56. So I'll try to be again, you know, and I'm still working on trying to wrap things up quickly like I normally want to. So I've lost 0.2 of a pound. I am down now to I am down to 251.8. And it's, like I said, it's frustrating. But last week, so the victories that I've made is that I do feel ultimately overall a lot better, less lethargic, not, and I might even be speaking from more of a optimistic standpoint when I say this, because I did notice some good differences. My sister, who has also been making good changes, had noticed a lot of like feeling differences in the last week, because again, we went on vacation the week before last and we just allowed ourselves to enjoy ourselves and do whatever we want, eat whatever we want, drink whatever we want. We're not alcohol drinkers really much, but we did have a shitload of soda. So one of my changes that I made this last week was I didn't have any soda all week, except for one time when we went out to eat on Sunday. Yes, on Sunday. So we went to a New Mexican restaurant that's in my town, and I had 1 glass of Pepsi. And that's what I said. I'm like, whenever she asked for drinks, I said, I'm going to have a Pepsi. And she walked away, and I looked at them and I said, you know, I'm just going to have one. I'm not going to ask for any refills. I'm going to sip it throughout my meal and just enjoy the taste, because you know, when you go from drinking, like you go from not drinking it and then kind of drinking it sometimes, and then a whole week of just every single day. And some of you may still be drinking soda every day, and you know how hard it is to kick because there's that sugar addiction and all this other. So, but it was so delicious. And just to savor that one Pepsi. And I mean, by the time we were finished eating and we paid for our bills and everything, I had about this much left in like your classic restaurant glass, you know, the little kind of amber colored ones, about this much left. And so I went ahead and drank it, the rest of it, because I'm like, you know, this is my one soda essentially for the week. I'm going to drink it. So that was good. I made better food choices last week, and I tried to focus on getting more sleep, because the first 2 days were really hard after having a vacation where I was staying up way late and waking up pretty late in the morning for somebody who normally gets up at, I would call it a decent hour. It's not even really early. But when I was working out consistently and exercising and everything, I was trying to work myself down to where I can get a good solid 2 hours at the gym rather than just like one ish. And I was getting up, I would say between 4:15 and 5 o'clock in the morning when I was being good about all of it, which really was only about, I would say about 6, 7 months ago before the dog's attack that I had. So, and I'm not trying to use that as an excuse either. I'm just saying that that was probably around the time that I started slipping anyway, or maybe it was the kind of, if you want to use the word catalyst of me starting to slip up. So today, again, it's 7 now. I got up because I was thinking about it last night and take a drink. And I was considering how one of my biggest struggles, once again, is getting up in the morning and going and working out. So now that I'm in a position where physically I can do what I need to do, like I said, that left shin is still a little bit swollen and very tender still. My right ankle, though, the one that we thought was broken, it is doing very well, almost no pain. So that's really great. But so now I'm in a position where I can go work out for sure. I hashtag goals, David Goggins working out on broken legs. Not really for me. I don't see the value in that, but he did, and I respect where he came from. So if any of you know who that is, awesome. And if you know what I'm talking about, awesome. If you don't, I highly recommend Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. It's part autobiography and part personal growth and development book. Really excellent. But anyway, so I just, now that I'm in a position where I can work out again, I want to make it happen. But one of my biggest challenges is getting up and doing it. So that being said, it's 7:02. I'm going to try to wrap it up here. Sometimes it's hard, and again, I've been awake for about 40 minutes roughly. So it's kind of hard for me to like string together coherent thought. So again, I'm going to go back to my successes. Pardon me. Made the switch to, when I'm finished with my mug of coffee in the morning, going to water. No excuses. And I've been great about that. Except for the kind of internal pouting of, no, I'm done with my coffee now and I don't have any more for the rest of the day. So I'm, other than like a little bit of pouting, but I've made that success making better food choices. They're not the best, but I'm working back towards that, because when you're out of the habit, man, yikes. Also, I decided that I would, originally I got down to where I was putting only 2 heaping spoonfuls of sugar in this entire mug, from like 9 to 10 or 9 to 11 before. And then I went back up, because that's what you accidentally kind of do. You're just a little bit more because I want a little bit more sugar, and then you kind of build up. So now I am at 2.5 for this week. Last week I told myself 3 and no more. And that also, I'm also using creamer, and the creamer that I use is, I think it's one of, if not the top ingredient is high fructose corn syrup, which is not good for you at all. So you can see where that's one of the things I'd like to cut out as well. In fact, if I can get myself down to where I'm not drinking even as much coffee in general with all of that, then that would be a win. So this week is 2.5 heaping spoonfuls, and really my heaping wasn't even a heaping spoonful, that last half spoonful of sugar. So 2.5 for this week. And then also getting up in the morning and, let's see, what was the other? Oh, and also having gone to this cabin on our vacation, my sister and I, unfortunately, are not the most organized people in the world. In fact, we're kind of, I would say, far from organized. Grew up with hoarding parents, unfortunately. And, so it's hard to switch the mindset from gathering a bunch of junk and trying to find a nice balance, because it's hard for us to even buy like household decorations, because we feel like is junk that's just going to end up sitting around. But part of that is combating laziness and procrastination when you're wanting to put those things up. So we have very bare walls that we would like to change, but we don't do that because we don't want to accumulate a bunch of junk, but we still fight clutter quite a bit. So we're still struggling with clutter. But anyway, we're taking steps to get to a point where it's a nice home again. So I've done a lot of kind of like, maybe not even a lot, but when I did have free time, cleaning and organizing. So that's a good step in the right direction. I got back into doing haircuts, so that's a good step in the right direction. Again, because we thought that my ankle was broken for about a week and a half, and then I went on vacation, so had a lot of people who loved me doing their hair that I couldn't do at first because I thought I was broken. and then I went on vacation, so I was out for about 2 weeks as far as doing that. So good things are happening. Going to make my best efforts this week to continue to take steps in the right direction. And there's this part of me that wants to beat myself up for not doing better already now and making those decisions, those good decisions. And then there's this other part of me that's like, don't beat yourself up too much because it took you steps to get here. It took you steps to get down to your lowest weight that you were last year. It took you it's going to take steps. And I would love to be the kind of person that can gung-ho it, but I know for myself, when you do gung-ho it and you cut a bunch of shit out, and this is, again, for me, some people this works for, but for me, usually I could do it for a few days, if that really, and crash and burn and, kind of just go back into it. So if I take steps, gradual steps, it's a lot easier and kind of more effective because it's almost more like you're building and creating a good habit and a good discipline rather than just throwing yourself into it and being like, and then throwing yourself back out of it. So that being said, 7:07, I've been talking for 17 minutes. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I am, again, I've recommitted to posting at least one video every week. And maybe if I were to post 2 videos every week, they wouldn't be so damn long. So I apologize about that. Have a lovely, lovely week. I will definitely talk to you next week, if not sooner. And I am going to go work out. And again, that was one of my things that I wanted to talk about. One of my goals is to at least do about 20 minutes on the stationary bicycle because it is relatively easy on my legs because I still have a few issues. It's particularly with that opposite shin because like I said, on the one side, broken ankle, on the other side, just nerve issues where my shin hit the dashboard. I'm still having some issues with right below the knee, and that entire shin just having issues is the easiest way to say it. So standing on it for too long sometimes is a problem, and walking quite a bit can be a problem. So I'm like, well, if I'm sitting on a bicycle, at least I'm getting moving. I'm, kicking up those endorphins and burning some calories and feeling like I'm accomplishing something. So that's my goal. Again, trying to do that, again, for just about 20 minutes. And then I hadn't really set particularly a goal as far as how many times to work out this week. But I think that if I went way back to the beginning, when I was doing, at least 15 minutes, 3 times a week would be probably a good starting point, because it was a good starting point way back before, way back when I started this, when I was at 281 point something. So 271, regardless, back in 2018. So when I got serious. So all of my love, I've got to get out of here. I got to quit yapping. I'm sure that there are things that I've forgotten because I'm not using a prompt today. And I'm sure there are things that I have definitely inserted in there that you didn't necessarily need to know. But such is life when you're kind of improving what you're talking about. So I'm going to go. Have a lovely day. Make good choices. Do the best you can on those. Make the best choices that you can. Don't beat yourself up so much when you don't make great choices, but try to hold yourself accountable. Be your best self. Be nice to people, and expect that in return. Really try to do the best that you can to put value in yourself. That way you get that, and then live your best life and all of those things. that I talked about. So, bye.